You ever hit a moment so loud in your soul, but the world around you just keeps going like nothing happened? That was my birthday. April 12th, the day I stood on a stage I built from the ground up, launching a nonprofit meant to give underprivileged teens in Knoxville the kind of chance I never had. And the one person who should have been there, front row with her hand in mine? She wasn't. I'm Miles Bennett, 38 years old. Grew up on the east side of Knoxville, scraping by. My old man ran off before I learned long division, and my mom worked herself sick just keeping the lights on. I didn't go to college, couldn't afford it. But I learned to work. Roofing, siding, gutters. If it broke, I fixed it. Built my company, Bennett Restoration Company, with nothing but calloused hands, busted knuckles, and a truck that coughed smoke like a chimney. Now I've got 10 guys on payroll, health benefits, and a wait list 2 months long. People say it's just roofing. But to me, it was my way out. My way up. And Sienna, my wife, she had the benefit of that. I paid for her beauty school, fronted every cent of her studio. Even covered her culinary classes when she said she might pivot. I never blinked. I believed in her even when she didn't finish a single damn thing she started. So when I stood there at my foundation's launch, behind a podium with cameras rolling and kids I grew up with crying in the crowd, and saw her tagged in Instagram stories from Trevor's backyard barbecue, glass of wine in hand, laughing like I didn't even exist, something inside me cracked. Trevor's my brother. The golden boy. Ivy League, dad's old blazer still in his closet, perfect family, perfect wife. Chloe. My parents always praised him. Trevor brings honor to the family. Me? I brought ladders and invoices. Sienna used to say she liked that I was real. Grounded. But somewhere along the way, real started meaning invisible to her. And on the most important day of my life, she proved it. That night, I didn't go home. I didn't call. I just sat on the hood of my truck behind the event tent, staring up at the stars, wondering how the hell I ended up married to someone who couldn't even pretend to care. But I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was still trying to understand how a woman I'd given everything to could look at me like I was less. Little did I know this was only the beginning. I went home the next morning. Didn't make a sound when I walked through the door. The place smelled like lilac candles and hairspray, Sienna's usual scent trail, like she was marking territory. She was sitting at the kitchen counter in one of those silk robes I bought her last Christmas. Her phone in one hand, coffee in the other. She didn't even look up when I walked in. Hey, she said casually, like I'd been out picking up eggs and not launching a damn foundation alone on my birthday. I dropped my keys on the counter. Barbecue was fun? She glanced up, narrowed her eyes like I was the one with explaining to do. It was Trevor and Chloe. Family. I couldn't just not go. Yeah, I said, biting my tongue. Would have been rude to miss a backyard hangout while your husband was delivering a keynote speech on live TV. She rolled her eyes. Don't be dramatic. You act like you won a Nobel Peace Prize. And there it was, the flick. That little jab. She always did that lately. Turned anything meaningful to me into something small. A joke. A you're not that important punch to the ribs with a smile. But what she didn't know. I'd seen the story Chloe posted. A little boomerang of Sienna laughing. Not a big deal, right? Except in the background, I caught my own name. Trevor's voice. A joke at my expense. Mr. Blue-Collar Philanthropist. Cue laughter. And Sienna? She was laughing the loudest. That laugh haunted me. I built her up from scratch. She was waitressing at a pizza shop when we met. No degree, no plan. Just a pretty smile and dreams she hadn't even shaped yet. I funded every step. Beauty school, the studio, the damn stainless steel appliances she had to have because clients come over sometimes. And now she was sipping wine with my family, laughing at me like I was some handyman punchline? That was betrayal number 1. Not cheating. Not yet. But the moment someone who's supposed to have your back starts using it as a springboard for their image, that's a different kind of knife. I didn't call her out. Not then. I wasn't ready. Instead, I looked her dead in the eye and asked, "When's the last time you were proud of me?" She blinked, caught off guard. What kind of question is that? But I could already see the answer written all over her face. She didn't respect me anymore. And once respect is gone, love's not far behind. 2 days later, I stopped by Trevor's place to drop off a pressure washer he borrowed a month ago and forgot to return. I wasn't planning on sticking around. Honestly, I just wanted to look him in the eye. Trevor answered the door with that polished grin, the one he wore like a tailored suit. "Miles, man. Didn't expect you." "Yeah," I said, lifting the washer hose. "Just figured I'd grab this before it becomes a family heirloom." He chuckled, all fake warmth. "Come in for a beer?" I should have said no. but part of me wanted to see what I was really dealing with. Inside, Chloe was curled up on the couch, laptop in her lap. She looked up and gave me that tight, pity smile. "Big speech the other day," she said. "Didn't know you were into that kind of stuff." That kind of stuff. I gave a nod. Trying to build something that matters. She hesitated. "Well, it's sweet. A little blue-collar Robin Hood, right?" Trevor laughed from the kitchen. "Sienna said you got all fired up," quoting some construction Gandhi speech. And there it was again. Sienna said. I kept my expression neutral. "That's so?" He handed me a beer. "Come on, man. Don't be sensitive. You know Sienna. She's just spicy." Spicy. That's what people call it when someone talks trash about you and then flips the blame when you get mad. That night I couldn't sleep. Something kept gnawing at me, so I did something I hadn't done in years. I checked her phone. I didn't dig deep. I didn't need to. Just opened the group chat she always laughed about with her studio girls. And there it was. A selfie she sent from the barbecue. Captioned, "While my man saves the world one broken shingle at a time, grinning face with sweat." Followed by gifs of bobbleheads and fire emojis from her friends. Then, from one named Lexi, "You really married a roofer?" Still trying to wrap my head around that face with tears of joy. And Sienna replied, "Let's not forget I upgraded him from a beat-up Tacoma to something that doesn't leak." That hurt, but not in the way you think. It wasn't the Tacoma dig, or even the job title. It was the way she erased everything I'd done. Every long night, every dollar, every damn thing I sacrificed so she could play entrepreneur with my last name and my money. She didn't just stop loving me. She started looking down on me. And right then, lying in bed next to the woman I'd spent 10 years building up, I made a quiet promise to myself. She doesn't know it yet, but I'm done playing the man she thinks I am. The morning after I read those messages, I stared at the ceiling for an hour before getting up. Sienna was already gone. Said she had early clients. But I knew where she really was. The same place she always ran to when she wanted to play successful boss babe, her beauty studio. A studio I paid for. I remember standing in that half-renovated strip mall 2 years ago with a paint roller in my hand while she picked out wallpaper patterns from Pinterest. She called it her empire in the making. Empire built on what? My time, my sweat, my credit score. Back then, I wanted to believe she saw me as her partner, her foundation. Now it was obvious. I was just the stepping stone she used to climb towards some imaginary lifestyle she thought she deserved. That Friday, my birthday, I showed up to the foundation event with my tie on crooked and my stomach twisted in knots. I was nervous. I'm not a public speaker. Never have been. But that day, I had to be. We were launching a trade initiative for kids from low-income homes. Roofing, carpentry, welding, real skills. I poured my savings into it, called in favors, got local businesses to donate tools and apprenticeships. I even had a councilwoman lined up to speak. But all I could think about was the empty seat in the front row. The one I saved for Sienna. People clapped. Speeches were made. I got a plaque and a handshake. Someone handed me a slice of cake. But none of it meant anything. Because while I stood under spotlights, breaking generational curses with a mic in my hand, my wife was playing charades with a wine glass at Trevor's barbecue. Later that night, after the guests had cleared out and the folding chairs were stacked, I sat on the back bumper of my truck and watched my own hands. Rough, cracked, calloused. The same hands that paid for her dream. The same hands she now mocked. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Sienna. "Hope your event went well. We'll celebrate tomorrow. Promise kiss mark. No, happy birthday. No, I'm proud of you." Just a hollow promise and a kiss emoji. I stared at that screen for a long time. Then I replied, "No need. I already celebrated." I didn't hear from her the rest of the night. Didn't matter. Something had shifted inside me. Not rage. Not heartbreak. Just resolve. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to plan. The next morning, I walked into the kitchen to find Sienna sipping green juice like nothing happened. She looked up, all smiles. "Hey, birthday boy. You disappeared last night." I nodded slowly. "Yeah. Had some stuff to clean up. She laughed. You always do. Then turned her back to me and started scrolling her phone. That's when I knew for sure. She didn't just not care. She genuinely believed I'd never call her out. Never challenge her. I was just Miles, the dependable workhorse. The man who'd fund her dreams and quietly eat the crumbs of her attention. So I stopped talking. Stopped asking where she was going. Stopped trying to be the man she wanted. I became the man she didn't see coming. First thing I did was pull out the file box I kept under the bed. Inside were every receipt, every payment, every deposit slip I'd ever made for her schooling, her studio, even her damn cookware set she used once and then shoved in a cabinet. I cataloged it all. Then I checked our shared accounts. Quietly opened a new one under my business name. Shifted my direct deposit. Canceled the auto-pays for her studio's lease. Made it look like a banking glitch. Next, I made an appointment with an attorney. Just information gathering, I told myself. But in my gut, I already knew. The marriage was dead. That night, she came home all excited, talking about rebranding her brand. Said her friend Lexi knew a guy who could do professional photo shoots and wanted to make Sienna look like a CEO. I didn't respond, just smiled and asked, "You using my studio space for that?" She blinked. "Our studio, right? Ours." I started documenting everything. Conversations, payments, her absences, her sudden interest in luxury skincare and $300 gym leggings she never used. And I did it quietly, methodically, because if she was going to turn me into a joke behind my back, then I was going to turn her carelessness into leverage. One afternoon I stopped by the studio. She wasn't there. Her assistant, a sweet girl named Melody, looked flustered. "Oh, she's out with clients," she stammered. "Clients?" I asked, leaning on the counter. "She's booked for cuts or facials?" Melody hesitated. More like drinks. She said it was a networking thing. I just smiled. "Gotcha." As I turned to leave, Melody said something that stuck with me. "You're a really good guy, Mr. Bennett. She doesn't talk about you much, but when she does, it's like, you're always just fixing things. Fixing things. Yeah, that's what I do. But this wasn't going to be one of them. This one I was going to let break." A week later, I was at a supplier picking up slate for a custom roofing job when I got a call from my buddy Darren. "You good, man?" "Yeah, why?" He hesitated. "Saw your wife last night at Trevor's. Thought maybe you were there too." I wasn't. I hadn't been to Trevor's place in months. Not since he told me, and I quote, "Man, you wouldn't understand what it's like to want more out of life. That from a guy who's lived off the family name, had our parents pay for his business degree, and coasted ever since." I asked Darren, what was the occasion? Just a get-together. But Sienna was holding court. My stomach sank. "What do you mean?" She was telling this group of Chloe's friends how hard it is being married to a basic builder who doesn't understand the pressure of being a female entrepreneur. Said you're stuck in 1995. Some blue-collar man who fixes things and thinks it's enough. I didn't say anything. "Sorry, bro," Darren added. "Just thought you should know." I hung up and sat in my truck for 15 minutes, engine running, heat blowing stale air. I stared at the wheel, gripping it like I was holding onto the last piece of my old life. Because it hit me right then. This wasn't just distance. This wasn't a bad patch. This was disrespect. And she wasn't even hiding it anymore. That night, I scrolled through Sienna's tagged photos. Trevor had posted a clip, him grilling, Chloe laughing, and in the background, there she was. My wife, dancing like a teenager in the corner, holding a glass of rose and mimicking something. The caption, "When your sister-in-law does her motivational roofer voice. Face with tears of joy." Motivational roofer voice. They were mocking my foundation speech. The one where I talked about giving back. About creating something lasting. About meaning. My own brother and wife turned my dream into a meme. I could feel the blood rush to my ears, but I didn't break anything. Didn't scream. Instead, I closed the app, went to my desk, and pulled out the business plan for my nonprofit, the one Sienna never even asked to see. I revised it, made a new budget, Took her name off everything she'd never lifted a finger to help build. And then I emailed the lawyer again. The subject line was simple: ready to proceed. 2 days after I sent that email, I walked into my attorney's office and signed the papers. Not divorce papers, not yet. That was the end game. This was preparation. I gave him everything. Bank records, lease agreements, the messages from her friends, the receipts for every tuition bill I ever paid. The paper trail was clean, tight. He looked up after flipping through the documents. You really covered all your bases. I nodded. I've been covering her whole life for years. Figured I'd document it while I was at it. Then I handed him a thumb drive. What's this? Security footage, I said calmly. From the studio I installed cameras in last year. Sienna doesn't know they upload to my cloud. He raised an eyebrow. Anything interesting? I shrugged. Let's just say she hasn't been using the space strictly for facials and makeup consults. Because in the past few weeks I'd noticed a pattern. Sienna was dressing up more, but not for work. Long lunch breaks. Nights she claimed to be working late while I watched her studio lights go dark on my phone. And one night, around 9:15 p.m., a man pulled up in a black BMW. Tall, tan, real estate agent type. He didn't stay long. But he came back. Twice. I didn't tell her I knew. Not yet. I wasn't interested in confrontation, not anymore. I was interested in consequences. The next move was financial. I called the landlord of the studio building, a guy named Rick I'd dealt with personally when I negotiated her lease. Hey Rick, it's Miles Bennett. Just checking any issues with the next renewal. Silence. Then, actually, Sienna mentioned she might want to take over the lease in her own name. Bingo. She say that recently? I asked. Yeah. Last week. Said you were stepping back. I smiled. Makes sense. Listen, if she moves forward with that, I'd recommend running her credits separately. Rick chuckled. That bad, huh? She's not as liquid as she likes to act. We hung up on good terms. Then I made one final move. I pulled her name off the Bennett Restoration Company emergency business card, the one she used like a sugar daddy debit. Designer shoes. Brunch tabs. Aesthetic candles that smelled like regret and eucalyptus. Card declined. Text came within minutes. Babe? The card isn't working. I replied. Oh. Must be because I stopped being a joke. No response. But that night she came home early. Dressed down. Hair up. Smile tight. She tried to kiss me on the cheek, but I moved past her. Something wrong, she asked. Nope, I said, opening the fridge. Everything's finally starting to make sense. She stood there for a second like she didn't recognize the man in front of her. And honestly, she didn't. Because the man who used to bend over backward for her? He was gone. The silence between us became its own language. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I didn't ask questions I already knew the answers to. I let her talk, and Sienna, God bless her, loved to talk when she felt control slipping. One night, she came home with takeout from my favorite barbecue joint, no less. I thought we could eat together. Like old times, she said, setting the bag on the counter with a soft smile. You've been distant. I leaned against the sink and looked at her. Just busy, I said. She tilted her head, studying me like she was trying to remember who I was. Busy with your little nonprofit thing? Little. There it was again. Sienna, I said, keeping my voice calm, you ever realize how often you minimize the things I care about? She blinked. What are you talking about? I just shook my head. Never mind. But she wasn't letting it go. She stepped closer, lowering her voice like we were in some romance movie. Miles, I know we've been off. But we can fix it. We always do. That's when I realized she didn't know I was already done. She thought this was a phase. That I'd take my licks, mope for a while, then come crawling back like always. Because that's how it had always gone. I worked, she wandered, we fought, we played house again. But not this time. Not after the laughing. Not after the lies. Not after she turned me into a cautionary tale to boost her own ego. So I played along. Sat at the table. Ate the pulled pork and drank sweet tea like everything was fine. Let her lean into the act. She even reached for my hand at one point. I miss this, she said, squeezing it. You and me. I looked at her fingers wrapped around mine, perfectly manicured, moisturized with the $60 hand cream I'd paid for, and felt nothing. I miss it too, I lied. I've been thinking a lot about how to get us back on track. Her eyes lit up. Really? Yeah, I said. We'll talk more soon. Big change is coming. She grinned, relieved. But here's the truth, when someone shows you who they are behind your back, you don't go back. You prepare. And while she was over here trying to relight the match, I was already standing next to the fire, holding the gas can. The shift was subtle, and that's exactly how I wanted it. I started staying late at the office. Not because I had to. Because I wanted distance. Time. Room to breathe without her perfume clouding my judgment. At home, I was cordial. Warm even. I let her think the fog had passed. She started leaving little notes in my lunch bag again. Heart emojis. Proud of you, babe. She had no idea I was living in two realities. In one, I was the quiet husband she thought she still had wrapped around her finger. In the other, I was tying every loose end she didn't even know was dangling. I met with my accountant, started removing her from anything she had access to, retirement plans, business credit lines, the safety deposit box. She didn't notice. She was too busy rebranding. She had some new influencer friend now, blonde, fake tan, loud laugh, the kind of woman who could convince a faltering wife she was a boss babe trapped in the marriage of a man with calloused hands and small-town ambition. One afternoon I walked into the studio unannounced. Sienna wasn't there. Her assistant Melody looked up, wide-eyed. She's, not scheduled until 4. I glanced around. The place looked like an Instagram set, rose gold chairs, fake marble, ring lights. What's she been doing with this place lately? I asked. Melody hesitated. Honestly? She's barely here. Comes in, posts a few stories, takes some selfies, then heads out again. I think she's working on a product line. I laughed. A product line? Melody shrugged. Face masks or something. She says the studio's just part of the brand now. Of course it was. The space I renovated. The business I funded. It was now just content. I walked out without saying another word. That night I drove past Trevor's place again. I don't know why. Some masochistic itch maybe. His house lit up like a damn catalog, kids playing in the yard, Chloe snapping pics for her mom blog. And then I saw Sienna's car in the driveway. No explanation. No heads up. Just there. It was a Thursday. She came home 3 hours later. I was in the garage, tuning up my generator. She walked in like she'd been running errands. Hey babe, she said. Stopped by Chloe's. Had wine and girl talk. I wiped my hands on a rag and looked her straight in the eye. You go there a lot. She paused. Yeah. Why? No reason. Just cataloging it. Because the more she lied to my face, the more she gave me what I needed. And soon she'd give me the one thing I was waiting for. An excuse. The moment came faster than I expected. It was a Sunday morning. I was under the house fixing a busted pipe, the kind of job most people would outsource, but I find peace in the grind. Dirt on my jeans, wrench in hand, that's who I am. Always have been. Sienna came home around noon, smelling like perfume I didn't buy and wearing heels too high for brunch with Chloe. She leaned over the porch railing, smiling down at me. Hey baby. Want a mimosa? We're doing a girls' day at Chloe's. I glanced up, squinting against the sun. Where's Chloe live again? She blinked, just for a second. You know, over by Westland. Same place they've always been. Wrong. Chloe and Trevor had moved 6 weeks ago to a gated community in Farragut. I helped them move. Hauled boxes. Fixed their mailbox on day 1. I didn't correct her. Just nodded. Right? I forgot. She disappeared inside, humming like a woman with no secrets. But I just heard everything I needed to hear. I checked her location that night, not from an app. From her car. I'd installed a tracker months ago, back when I first noticed her behavior changing. She hadn't gone to Chloe's. She went to an apartment complex downtown. Same place as the black BMW guy. At this point, I wasn't even surprised. I went into full prep mode. The next morning, I had coffee with my attorney. Laid out everything. Timeline. Footage. Financials. We filed preliminary divorce documents, nothing submitted yet, just drafted. I wanted them perfect. Razor sharp. That night, I came home early and found her on the couch wearing my hoodie. She patted the cushion beside her. Let's watch a movie tonight. Like old times? I sat. She leaned against me like nothing was wrong, like the smell of another man's cologne wasn't faintly clinging to her hair. During the credits, she looked up at me with glossy eyes. You've been different lately, she said. But in a good way. How so? Just more confident. Like you finally get what I've been saying all these years. I tilted my head. And what have you been saying, Sienna? That you were meant for more. That roofing and hammers were never going to be your legacy. That's when I realized she didn't think I'd changed. She thought she changed me. She actually believed that her belittling, her absence, her betrayal inspired me to grow. Delusional. I leaned forward, kissed her on the cheek, and whispered, "Thank you for always pushing me." She smiled, content. Then stood up, stretched, and went to the bathroom. And that's when I saw it. Her phone buzzed. A message preview from a contact saved only as J. Tonight was perfect. Still taste your lip gloss. She'd left it unlocked. I didn't even need to open the thread. That was it. The proof. The excuse. The match. And I was already standing in gasoline. I didn't blow up. Didn't scream. Didn't storm into the bathroom and confront her. No. I just took a screenshot, airdropped it to my laptop, and deleted the message preview. Then I smiled to myself. See, I knew something about Sienna. Something she never figured out about me. She thought silence meant weakness. That my quiet nature was surrender. But real power? That's staying quiet while you build the trap. And hers was damn near finished. I spent the next week finalizing everything. Bank accounts. Separated. Business assets. Moved and protected. Studio lease. I let it expire quietly. Rick was happy to hand it over to someone more serious. Divorce filing. Signed, sealed, and held back, just waiting for the perfect time. Then came my ace, the nonprofit. I booked a TV interview. Local news. They were doing a segment on Knoxville small business owners giving back. I hadn't planned on going public yet, but this was too good to pass up. Sienna, as usual, didn't ask where I was that night. Said she had a late product shoot with her new branding consultant. The same one who probably tasted her lip gloss a few nights ago. The interview aired the next morning. It was simple, just me in work boots and a button-down, talking about building something for kids who'd never had a chance. I talked about second chances, trades, mentorship. I mentioned the woman who once believed in me before she forgot who I was. The reporter asked if I was married. I smiled. Not for much longer. It blew up more than I expected. Clients, friends, even a few family members started messaging me. Proud, inspired, curious. Sienna didn't say a word, but I saw her watch the clip on her phone in bed that night. She didn't know I was awake, back turned, listening to her breathing grow shallow. She got up and left the room without a word. When she came back, her attitude had shifted. She was suddenly sweet, overly affectionate. That phony admiration in her voice again. You know, I think what you're doing is amazing, she said, curling up beside me. I always knew you were capable of more. I looked at her like a stranger. You mean that? I asked gently. She nodded. Of course I do. Then prove it, I said. Come to the foundation gala next Saturday. Wear that black dress. Let them see who stood beside me. She smiled like she'd just won something. Okay, she said, brushing her fingers down my arm. I'd love that. But here's what she didn't know. The gala wasn't for her. It was for me. It was my stage. And she was about to watch me set the record straight. For everyone. Saturday came fast. I had everything lined up, caterers, media, guests, donors. It wasn't just a gala. It was a declaration. The launch of something real, something lasting. A legacy that didn't need her name or her validation stamped on it. But she thought it did. Sienna walked into the venue like she was the damn guest of honor. Black dress, red lipstick, gold heels that clicked like they announced her before she even opened her mouth. She looped her arm through mine. You look handsome, she whispered. I didn't flinch, just nodded and led her inside. People smiled. Cameras flashed. She posed beside me like we were royalty, like she'd been there through the blood and grind, instead of sipping Pinot Grigio at Trevor's while I shingled hope for kids no one else wanted to help. My speech came near the end. The lights dimmed. Spotlight hit the mic, and I stepped forward. Sienna stayed seated, beaming like this was her night. But I didn't thank her. Not once. I thanked my crew. My mom who worked 2 jobs. The kids who signed up for our pilot apprenticeship. I even thanked Trevor for showing me what I never wanted to become. Then I said, and to the woman who inspired me most. Sienna straightened her back, ready for her spotlight. Thank you for reminding me that real respect doesn't come with a last name or a perfect smile. It comes from showing up. From standing beside someone even when there's no applause. I let the silence hang. And when that person leaves you behind, when they mock you to your own family, that's when you realize they weren't standing beside you. They were just using you as a ladder. A few heads turned. Sienna's smile dropped like glass on concrete. I wrapped it clean. This foundation isn't about me. And it damn sure isn't about saving face. It's about building something better from what's broken. It's for the kids who've been laughed at, dismissed, overlooked. Like I was. Like I'm not anymore. Applause roared. I walked off stage. She was already at the bar, breathing fast, clutching her phone. What the hell was that? She hissed when I approached. I leaned in. That was the end. She blinked. The end of what? Us. She stared at me, frozen. You're joking. I pulled out the envelope and placed it on the bar in front of her. Divorce papers. Already. Your copy. You're doing this here? Figured I'd do it at the one place I'm finally being seen for who I really am. Her voice dropped to a hiss. You think you'll survive without me? I laughed an honest, belly-deep laugh. Sienna. I built without you. And then I walked away. Didn't look back. She'd spent years trying to shrink me. But tonight? She just watched me outgrow her in front of 100 witnesses. Sunday morning, I woke up alone. The house was quiet. Her closet was half empty. A few drawers left open like she'd stormed out in a fit, which was exactly her style, loud exits, dramatic silences. I made coffee. Sat on the porch. Watched the sun climb over the trees like it owed me something. My phone lit up with messages. Trevor. Was that really necessary last night? Chloe. You didn't have to humiliate her, Miles. She's hurting. Melody from the studio. Heard what happened. Just wanted to say. I'm proud of you. And one from an unknown number. You're gonna regret this. I deleted that one without flinching. By noon, social media was buzzing. Sienna had already spun her version, a black and white selfie with the caption. Some people build foundations on lies. Glad I finally saw the cracks. Classic. She couldn't take responsibility, so she played the victim. Turned heartbreak into hashtags. Her army of boss babes flooded the comments with fake sympathy and fire emojis. But something unexpected happened too. People who knew me, clients, neighbors, even a few of her friends, started commenting. Funny. I saw him build that foundation from nothing. She used to brag about how much he did for her. Didn't she skip his birthday for a barbecue? The truth has a way of bleeding through even the thickest filters. Monday, I met with my attorney. We filed everything officially. Sienna hadn't contested a thing yet. Probably still hoping I'd back down, or worse, that she could spin the narrative into some self-help reinvention arc. But the thing is, I wasn't fighting her anymore. I was freeing myself. Later that day, I stopped by the studio one last time. Rick had already cleared her lease. Melody was packing up the front desk. She left a bunch of junk in the back, she said, motioning to a pile of half-used products and vision boards with phrases like, build your brand and manifest it, babe. I dug through the pile until I found the one thing I was looking for, a framed photo of me and her on the day we opened the studio. She'd crossed my face out with lipstick. I smiled, tucked it under my arm, and walked out. It was poetic. She spent years trying to rewrite the story. Now I held the pen. By Friday, things started falling apart, not for me, for her. She called 3 times. I didn't answer. Then came the texts. We need to talk. Can we just meet? I didn't mean for things to go this far. You embarrassed me. But we can fix this. Miles, please. That last one came at 2 a.m. Too late. Too fake. Too far gone. And while she scrambled to reclaim whatever version of me she thought she still owned, I was already moving forward. Fast. The nonprofit picked up steam. 2 local contractors reached out to partner. One of the schools in town offered their shop room to host free weekend classes. The local news anchor who covered my gala asked if I'd be open to a monthly feature, Knoxville Hands, they wanted to call it. Funny. The same hands she laughed at behind my back were now plastered across billboards with the words Building Futures underneath. But her? She was spiraling. I got a message from Chloe, unexpected, almost cautious. You were right about her. She's not okay. She's saying she gave up everything for you and now you've left her with nothing. I didn't reply. Because here's the truth. She didn't give up anything. She leveraged everything I gave her. My trust. My money. My name. And she burned it like it was all disposable. Word got around that her branding consultant had dropped her. Her fake product line? Never even made it past the pitch phase. One of her old friends messaged me anonymously and said she thought she'd come out of this a star. Now she's begging people to let her crash brand collabs. It was all smoke. And the fire she started? It circled back. Rick, the studio landlord, refused to lease her another space. You were always solid, he told me. She was just noise. Her fake CEO life dissolved in days. And as for the guy in the BMW? He'd moved on. I know because she posted a picture of herself crying in her car, captioned, "Some men build you. Others just drive off." There was no mention of me. But I didn't need it. Because I knew what really wrecked her. Not that I left. Not that I rose. But that I did it quietly. No yelling. No revenge porn. No public mudslinging. Just a man removing his energy from a woman who treated him like an accessory and watching her fall under the weight of her own lies. It's funny, people always talk about revenge like it's this fiery explosion. A screaming match. A car keyed, a scene made. But mine? It came with silence. It came with peace. And it came with a notarized envelope I had hand-delivered to her apartment, the one she downsized to after defaulting on the first few payments for her luxury studio gear. Inside was the finalized divorce decree. Signed. Stamped. Irrevocable. Attached was a breakdown of the marital assets. Everything that was mine stayed mine. Everything I built, Bennett Restoration Company, the foundation, the savings accounts, the house protected and locked tight before she ever smelled smoke. And her? She walked away with her name. Nothing more. No claim to the business. No stake in the nonprofit. Not even the furniture which I bought in cash after we moved in. She tried to contest it at first. Had her lawyer call mine and throw around words like contributions and support. But then I submitted the logs, every transaction, every bank record, every time she used the company card on $14 smoothies and fake followers. I even included screenshots from her group chat where she called me a placeholder husband until the brand blows up. The judge took one look at the case and issued a ruling in my favor. Full separation of assets. She got nothing. But here's the best part. A few weeks later, I was back at the high school on the east side where we just launched our second apprenticeship cycle. I was speaking to a group of teens about how working with your hands doesn't make you less. It makes you grounded, capable, unshakable. Afterward, a teacher pulled me aside. You know, she said, we had someone come in last week asking if we were hiring beauty consultants for student workshops. Said she used to be connected to the founder. I raised an eyebrow. Did she leave a name? She hesitated. Yeah. Sienna Bennett. I smiled. Not smug. Just, done. Tell her thanks, I said. But we're only working with builders now. And that was it. That was the moment I knew this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my name. My time. My value. She mocked the man who fixed roofs. And now? She can't even stand under one I didn't build. As for me? I'm not just the guy with a toolbox anymore. I'm a builder of futures. A founder. A man with his name on something that will outlast her fake empire and shallow friends. Funny how the girl who thought she was trading up ended up with less than nothing. And the man she underestimated? He's finally seen.